What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, November 18th, 2019. I'm feeling a little better than I was on Friday, but still a bit under the weather. And I just got a comment from Mike and our controlman, but how everybody seems to be getting colds. We have a relative who lives near us, got some kind of a bug, just put him in bed for like 5 days. So I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, let's get into it. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. Okay, well, the Democrats are getting desperate out there, and they're struggling to find something they can impeach Trump on. And so now they're opening an investigation as to whether Trump made false statements to Robert Mueller. So they're going back to the Russiagate issue, see if they can breathe some life back into that corpse. So it's just amazing. And I'm disappointed in Trump. I've made that very clear. But I'm feeling sorry for the guy. Watching all of official, permanent, long-term Washington, D.C. just sort of gang up on him like this. And I'm not alone in that. Polls are showing the American people they're getting fed up with all of this nonsense. And in fact, there are even Democrats out there who are thinking, if this goes on much longer, it's going to seriously hurt their election chances next year. And it will. It will. Now, a lot of people are looking at Roger Stone and they're saying, will he flip on Donald Trump to get a reduced sentence? A lot of other people are saying that Trump should pardon him, which I think Trump needs to do. Trump needs to send a message that these people being railroaded by the Democrats are going to be pardoned, or they'll all start flipping on him. Seem to be looking at that right now. Okay, let's see. Again, back to the polls. Most are saying the media is working with the Democrats to impeach Donald Trump. And yeah, no question about it. Whatever the Democrats come out with, it's being reported as factual news. Anything that might exonerate Trump gets buried. Now, Democratic Representative Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey is basically saying he's going to vote no on impeachment unless there is some actual proof that Trump committed a high crime. And he went on to reveal that a lot of Democratic lawmakers are concerned about what Schiff is doing, how it's going to reflect badly on them. And it already has. Here. All right, Nancy Pelosi is once again out there demanding President Trump prove to the impeachment committee he is innocent, and she's inviting him to testify before Congress. Now, this is a complete reversal of the way things work in this country. In this country, you are presumed innocent until proof beyond a reasonable doubt is presented. Pelosi wants to go back to Code Napoleon. Now, Trump is saying he might testify in front of Congress on the impeachment issue. Donald, bad mistake. Very, very bad mistake. They're going to dogpile all over you, and they're going to pound on you, waiting for you to make one mistake, and they're going to seize on it. Anyway. All right, over at Judicial Watch, they have uncovered documents revealing an extensive, their word, extensive relationship between the dossier author Christopher Steele and top Obama State Department officials. So more and more this whole P dossier, not to mention the entire Russiagate hoax, is moving closer and closer to the former president. Now, according to this one article that came out of Investment Watch blog, the IG report will be an indictment of Adam Schiff, according to Representative Ratcliffe. Now, Ratcliffe didn't say there's actually an indictment. I think what he's implying is that it will, in fact, be very damaging to Adam Schiff's image and reputation. But, of course, if Adam were to get the steel bracelets and a perp walk, I'd be perfectly happy about that. Apparently, Ilhan Omar paid another $147,000 to her married lovers consultant group, in addition to the hundreds of thousands for other services previously reported. There are now calls for a federal election probe. Alrighty. Now, here's a little bit of good news. Thanks to Hillary Clinton's attacks on Tulsi Gabbard, her poll numbers have gone up. And as a result, she now qualifies for the next Democrat primary debate. Way to go there, Hillary. Do that one here. Pete Buttigieg, oh boy, you want to talk about desperation on the cusp of madness here. Apparently, he's trying to convince people here in Indiana that black voters like him. And he put out a list of 400 names that he claimed were black voters who supported his plans. Unfortunately, a lot of the people on the list said, no, we're not endorsing him. Almost half the list turned out to be white. Apparently, they were illustrating it with stock photos from Kenya. So it doesn't get much worse than that. He's being excoriated over that one. All right, let's talk about Prince Andrew. He just did an interview on BBC, which a lot of people thought was a bad idea going in. They said it's going to be a train wreck. And it turned out to be a train crashing into a tank car, causing a tsunami, which triggered a nuclear explosion. It's being described as a catastrophic mistake. And part of it was that Andrew didn't apologize for his relationship with Epstein. He showed no sympathy for any of the victims. He came across as insensitive, self-important, patronizing, and completely out of touch. Now, one of the things he said during this interview was that one of his victims was lying when she said he was sweaty, because during the Falkland Islands War, when he was getting shot at, he had an overdose of adrenaline, which rendered him permanently incapable of sweating. Well, any doctor is going to tell you the exact reverse is going to happen. If you're juiced up on adrenaline, you're going to sweat like heck. And almost immediately on the internet, photos surfaced of Andrew, partying, snuggling up to young ladies, young girls actually, and sweating. So he's basically destroyed his own credibility here. And lawyers are saying, Prince Andrew is not immune to prosecution. He could be extradited to the U.S. over his links to Jeff Epstein and the allegations he had sex with 17-year-old Virginia Roberts. So why is this so important? Well, obviously rich and powerful men who like to have sex with underage girls, that's an area of concern. But there's another dimension here, and that is that there is a large and growing segment of the British population who think it's time to let the royals fade into history, that they shouldn't be supported with taxpayer money. I mean, they're rich enough all on their own. It's not like they really need the money. And that British society has evolved to the point where they don't really need royals. The Queen will grant the elected prime minister permission to form a government. That's basically it. Other than that, it's state functions, although she's going to be hosting President Trump and Melania. And Trump is going to be given a knighthood, which has already got people up in arms over the emoluments clause of the Constitution. So it would be honorary only while he sets foot in the United States of America. When he's in Britain, it's for real. Sir Donald and Lady Melania. Now, as you know, earlier this month, Project Veritas came out with another video revealing that ABC News had the Epstein story for years and covered it up, and it's caused a bit of a stink. And now the Congress is saying they're going to open an investigation. And basically, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has demanded answers. And in his letter to ABC News President James Goldston, McCarthy demanded the names of those involved in the decision not to run the story, as well as their motives. That's going to be a sticky one, as it were. All right, over in Iraq, there's a lot going on there. There's protests. Protesters are being killed. Muqtada al-Sadr on Monday warned the occupying power of the United States against intervening in the Iraqi affairs, including their elections, saying that if the U.S. interferes with Iraq's elections, he, Muqtada al-Sadr, will start working to get the U.S. kicked out of Iraq. I think he could actually do it. Now, Iraq's security forces are saying that the people who are being killed by a third party and not Iraq's security forces. He's not saying who the third party is. If you think back to Kiev, color revolution there were snipers on the roof killing people in both directions, just to stir things up here. And it may be happening again. Great Britain is dealing with yet another scandal. Apparently, the International Criminal Court is looking at investigating British war crimes and a cover-up both in Iraq and Afghanistan, where apparently the British Army just tortured people to death, including non-combatants. Over in Syria, there's further escalation in southern Idlib. And over the past couple of days, let's see, Syria's forces have noticed an escalation. There we go. Over the past days, southern Idlib, southern Raqqa, and northwestern al-Hasaka are the main points of tension in Syria. Now, on November 16th, 2 days ago, the Syrian army repelled an attack by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and its allies on the hill of Kazna in southeastern Idlib. Apparently, 7 militants were killed in the altercation. Things are not calming down there either. Now, the U.S. is calling on Haftar over in Libya. He's described as a renegade general, Khalifa Haftar, and the U.S. is calling on him to stop a months-long offensive on Tripoli. Said the U.S. would back the country's internationally recognized government against Russia's attempt to exploit the conflict. So we got Russia bashing in there. We've got the United States once again intervening in the internal affairs of another country, which is really kind of interesting because this National Army of Haftar was earlier praised by Donald Trump. Now they've changed their mind on that. Over in Egypt, Washington is threatening them with sanctions over their proposed purchase of the Russian Sukhoi 35 fighter jet. This is getting to be a bad habit by the United States to sanction anybody who buys weapons from Russia. The Yellow Vest protests over in France have reached their 1-year anniversary, and the French police have deployed tear gas and water cannons in the capital in a bid to drive back protesters trying to mark the first anniversary of the anti-government Yellow Vest demonstrations. By the way, as long as we're talking about France, apparently there's still a huge argument going on over the reconstruction of the roof of the Notre Dame Cathedral. And there's a large number of people who say, just put it back the way it was, the way we've all seen it. And apparently there's this alternative design of this sort of giant greenhouse spire that will sit on top of the current structure. And looking at the design for the greenhouse spire, to me, it looks heavy. And I have serious doubts that the existing structure of Notre Dame would be able to hold it safely. So they're really talking about having to rebuild the interior, put in new load-bearing members. Major problem. And they're dealing with the fact that a lot of people who promised to donate to the rebuilding effort haven't come through. Over in Israel, yes, once again, Israel is making a lot of bad news. They've launched fresh air raids on Gaza targets, including what they claim to be Hamas facilities. And they're saying Gaza started it. They fired rockets at us. How dare they do that? But you need to remember these hostilities were started by Israel. When they attacked and killed Islamic Jihad leader Baha Abu el-Ada and his wife Asma. And I saw this little article here that was over in Electronic Intifada saying, why did Israel bomb Gaza? Because it can. Actually, it's not that simple. Netanyahu is doing this in a bid to hang on to power. He's trying to prevent the Blue-White Party from forming a coalition government. That's why he's doing this. And he's even attacking the coalition government for even considering including Palestinian parties in the new coalition. He's really desperate. Okay, we have a caller on the line, Joe in Tennessee. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, the unfairness with Trump, you know, I'm getting to the point where I'm just getting unfairness fatigue in that I find it hard to really pity him too much because he's really not doing anything to help anybody else. I mean, Roger Stone's going to prison. You know, where's the what do you call it there? A pardon. I mean, I've been banned from Facebook. You know, Alex Jones has been demonetized, and our voices are suppressed. And he doesn't seem to really do anything, or his Justice Department doesn't seem to do anything. You know, they sent me a text. You know, support the president. It was send money, and I said indictments. You know, lock her up, and then maybe we'll talk. You know, it's just. I mean, he's, you know, the Louisiana election, you know, it came close. I give Trump credit because the guy was down like 22 points before Trump started helping him. But, I mean, I know a lot of people in oil and gas business, and I've been thrown off Facebook. One of my sites was like for offshore workers, and there was like 20,000 people I might have been able to influence, you know. But no, I got banned from Facebook, and you know, no, not a peep from Trump or the Justice Department or the conservatives, you know. And I saw this thing the other day that there was all these people twittered this Stefanik's speech to Adam Schiff, and every one of them, from the president to her and all the Republicans that forwarded this message, it was all censored by Google and Twitter. So, you know, what are the Republicans doing to help themselves?
Joe, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Joe in Tennessee about Trump's impeachment, and you're right. He doesn't really seem to do much of anything. He hasn't helped out Alex Jones. In the case of the impeachment, though, doing nothing is the smart thing. because he's not acting like he's guilty of anything, and the Democrats are self-destructing. It's... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, I mean, the reason they're impeaching him is because he hasn't acted as far as going after the Democrat. I mean, the same people that orchestrated this whole phony whistleblower thing are all Brennan and all his crew at the CIA and NSA. They're all connected. And by just sitting on and not indicting, these people all should have been in jail by now. And I fault Trump a lot because, you know, I hear him out every time he gives one of his rallies. He talks about the Democrats, which are, you know, the opposition, and then he points out the media. You know how much the media is against Trump. Well, the media is so against you, Mr. Trump. What have you done to like help the media that is for you? Nothing. What have you done to like encourage the media? I mean, why isn't at his press conference? Why aren't there a few people from alternative sources? Why aren't there more conservative voices asking him questions? That's all within his power to address. Yet he does nothing. I think he purposely wants the media to be one-sided so he could play the martyr. And maybe it's a smart tactical move. I don't know. But he sure as heck ain't doing anything to help his message get out through alternate media channels. It really is pathetic. And I'm personally really getting fed up with it. And I'm just because, you know, it's kind of like with Vince Foster. I did a lot to help get the Republicans elected in '94. I mean, I gave them $300, and it was a lot of money to me. And I told them, they called me afterwards, oh, we need more money. I said, no, you don't need anything from me. I said, you're in power. You're in Congress. You have the ability to subpoena. I said, if you don't go after Vince Foster and finish Clinton, then you have everything you need to be in power for the next 50 years. But did they do that? No. And you know as well as I do, there's certain topics they're not allowed to touch, you know, and Vince Foster was one of them. So Newt Gingrich got the word, no, you can't go there. And he didn't. And that was it. That's the last dime I ever sent to the Republicans. So it's the same thing with Trump. Look, Trump, I love you. I helped you get elected. I defend you a lot. But you have all the power to destroy your enemies, and I'm tired of this. I'm just tired of the emotional stress of it when it's totally unnecessary. If you would just unleash the Justice Department and start indicting these sons of guns and help with the media. You know, I mean, put pressure on these companies. They're not allowed to just suppress free speech just because they don't like our views. You know, so he's got all the power, just like the Republicans did back then to destroy Clinton. He's got the power to destroy his enemies, the deep state and the media. He just has to take the gloves off and do it. And if he doesn't, it's too bad. It really is too bad. But I'm not going to be that sympathetic.
Okay, well, I definitely see your point of view, and I agree with it pretty much 90%. You know, I do think he's doing the right thing relative to the impeachment inquiry, possibly for the wrong reasons. But I think the longer he just lets it play out, the worse it's going to be for the Democrats. I mean, there's starting to be defections within the ranks.
Well, I think that this whole impeachment thing, I think part of the trick is that they know the indictments are coming down with Barr and all that. And it's kind of like to prepare the smear for when these indictments happen. They can say, you see, it's all part of the corrupt Donald Trump, you know, trying to harass people and the whistleblower and all. Because a lot of people that are going to be connected with this whistleblower thing are going to be deep state people that might be getting indicted. So they're going to say that it's vengeance and they're harassing whistleblowers. I can see them setting it up now. It's just like the Democrats have basically inoculated Biden and his son from any indictments now. Because if they indict him, then they're going to say, oh, you see, Trump's indicting the presidential candidate, his opposition. It's witness intimidation. You know, all that stuff's going to come out. So by getting part of this whistleblower complaint, they're kind of inoculating themselves against indictment. That's what it looks like to me anyway. But at the same time, I'm just frustrated with Trump. I know he's smart, and I think he wants them to use all their ammunition and sets traps. But I'm just getting tired of waiting. It's just like he might be too smart by half, you know?
I hear another
Too
one.
smart
I
by
want to
half.
see actual indictments come out. I want to see indictments come out.
That's right. And one real quick thing I wanted to touch on these Chinese college students. And, I'm tired of college students. I'm tired of them in this country, and I'm tired of them in Hong Kong. I know, the media wants us to be sympathetic to their cause, but, the media wanted us to be sympathetic to Pussy Riot, too. And as far as I'm concerned, I love watching Russian policemen beat on them because they were a bunch of filthy degenerates that were sacrilegious to the Russian Orthodox Church and anything else that was traditional in Russia. And as far as the Chinese...
Joe,
yeah.
I'm going to have to let you go. Got to take another break for commercials. Okay. We have more callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. Hello, hi, America. Welcome back to the show. We're going to go back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Mark, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Am I on?
You're on the air.
Okay, good. Anyway, I don't know. You just mentioned about what's his name, Mahdi Sadr there in
Al-Sadr.
Yeah, I have a hard time with some of these names, But anyway, the fact of the matter is that what you mentioned about the snipers, you really you hit the nail right there, because I don't know if you remember. I assume you remember when you had that shooting in Dallas when 5 policemen were shot dead and 7 others were wounded. Remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
Okay, I've been watching this thing on about Ukraine. This special on Ukraine, Ukraine on Fire, and the another show that's like an update of it. And the way those snipers are set up there was very familiar to me when I look at what happened in Dallas. Now, make a long story short, I lived in Texas for a long time. I worked in corrections in Texas now, but you do know how to. You have to shoot there and all that. And I can tell you this about Texans, especially Texas law enforcement, which are just they know how to shoot from the time they're like knee high. Okay, for the most part. All right.
Same here.
So for something like this to happen with one guy who supposedly wasn't even that well trained. He was in the military, but his MOS was not even infantry, let alone special forces or anything, or ranger, anything like this. Tells me something smells. Okay, for him to be able to carry out an attack like that, this would take more than one man, unless it is somebody like special forces trained or something. Then maybe they could do something like this. My own theory is that George Soros is appointing people. I don't know where he's getting from. I don't know. He could be getting some from Assad. He could be getting some even from ex-Russian special forces. He could be getting people from our own special forces. People who are willing to do the dirty work. Maybe Mexican cartel hitmen, and he's using them to carry out shootings like this.
Yes.
Whether it's snipers or shootings like in malls or schools or or wherever, Walmart, super shops. I believe this is probably Soros pretty much working with the U.S. government to carry these things out. And because it just didn't, and by the way, conveniently, this guy was killed not by a human being, he was killed actually by a robot when they finally killed him. The guy in Dallas. So, I mean, these things are just, these are not coincidences. Like I said, for somebody to be that talented, when I mean talented, I don't mean in a good way. I mean, have the skills to carry out such a deadly attack like that, where you're going to kill 5 armed police officers and wound another 7. And there must have been about a couple of hundred police on the scene at that time because it was a demonstration. You're not going to just get any run-of-the-mill guy to do it. I've had military training, but there's no way I could carry something like that out. I wasn't in special forces or nothing like that. No way I would be able to do that. And most people I know that were in the military wouldn't be able to carry something like that out. Okay? Or nobody I know that's been in law enforcement be able to carry something like that out. You have to be especially well-trained and really be a killer. And I believe that's what Soros, probably together with the CIA and whoever else, is doing, because these things just don't happen but coincidentally. Every time there's a big shooting, too, if you notice, like in Cowards County and then again in El Paso, mysterious men in black are spotted.
Yes.
Okay, men in black being that they're in basically military or SWAT type uniforms. So, I mean, there's no question in my mind. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye. You know, I mean, really. And by the way, I just want to comment on Roger Stone. I've already called the White House, told him to free him, to pardon him. Trump better get on his butt and start freeing these people, man, including Julian Assange, including General Michael Flynn.
Yes.
He's showing that he's not loyal to friends, not loyal to people who are loyal to him, and that he basically would just throw him under the bus. That's unacceptable. That's completely unacceptable. He needs to free him. He needs to free him now. First of all, Stone didn't even do anything. At the worst, they might have had him for some kind of aggravated harassment, which is a misdemeanor, which is basically like a traffic violation.
Yes.
That's the most, and that's because of the guy Critical. The Twitter war that him and Critical had with each other. That's the worst I could see them finding Stone guilty of anything. But meanwhile, they're ready to put the man in jail for the next 50 years.
Yes.
The guy's about 7 years old already. I mean, that's not right, Mike. And Trump needs to do something. He needs to do something fast. I mean, he's going to lose all the support. That's all that's going to happen.
Okay, well, technically, Trump can't issue a pardon until the sentence has been imposed, at which point Trump can either issue a pardon or a commutation. And I think he'll probably go the commutation route.
I'm not sure about that, Mike. I think he could issue a pardon even before sentencing. I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure on that. Federal law is funny, so I'm not really sure. I know he can't pardon somebody for a state crime, but he can pardon somebody for any kind of federal crime. I think he could pardon him right off the bat. But you might be right. I'm not sure. But you better be prepared to pardon him then once he gets sentenced, because this isn't right, Mike. This is wrong.
Yes.
I mean, Stone. I don't know what Stone's history was. I know he's a little shady in back in the 1980s, 1970s.
Aren't they all?
In the political opposition. Yeah, but exactly. I mean, we got to put it. Trump himself was has a very shady background, to put it mildly. You know, so I mean, most of them are connected to Roy Cohn. But again, we're not. You can't sentence somebody because they knew a slime ball like Cohn back in the past. Roy Cohn.
Yes.
We're getting him for something total nonsense. First of all, Julian Assange was not even working for Russia. That's a bunch of nonsense. And Assange himself needs to be pardoned.
Well, I would add to that list Mumia al-Jamal and Leonard Peltier.
Well, are they in? Oh, yes, that's right.
If I were president, those would be the first two pardons off my desk.
Jamal, he couldn't, because Jamal is a state crime. Okay?
Yes,
the other
I stand
guy,
corrected.
Peltier is definitely. Yeah, definitely. By the way, I want to ask you something about Jamal. I've got mixed feelings about him. What do you think happened there? I mean, do you think he acted in self-defense? I know his brother was getting attacked or something. I never quite understood, because I know the man had no criminal record before that. He actually had a concealed carry permit, which is very hard to get in a city like Philadelphia.
Yes.
Especially back then. So what do you think really happened?
I think the brother did the actual killing. And they just grabbed Mumia and just railroaded him into prison.
All right. I'm just asking that because, like I said, I've mixed feelings about that. I'm really not sure. I've looked it up. I've tried to find out. I think Peltier, yes, definitely was framed.
Yes. Okay.
But Jamal, I'm not sure. And that was on Indian territory anyway. The FBI had no business on it, Indian territory at the time.
Well, unfortunately, yes, they do. Even though it's considered a nation within a nation and a Native American reservation, they have their own police force. But yeah, the FBI can come on in.
Can't the the Indians tell them, no, we don't want you in because it's almost like a sovereign nation?
No, and there's a very good movie out there starring Val Kilmer called Thunderheart, and it's a dramatization of that whole Leonard Peltier incident and revealed the tremendous corruption that was going on involving some of the agents of the FBI and the leadership of the tribe.
You know, when it comes to the FBI, there's nothing, there's no shortage of corruption going back to their very inception by the pervert that started it, you know, cross-dressing pervert that got them started. There's nothing but they need to be removed. They need to be disbanded and something else. It's not even, you know, as far as I know, the only federal agency that really is constitutionally authorized are the U.S. Marshals. And they were not meant to, there was no Justice Department at the time. They were basically officers of the federal courts. They were there to protect the federal courts, the judges, and to, you know, catch fugitives and, I guess, carry out certain type of warrants and stuff like that. They're the only really authorized federal law enforcement agency. Even the Border Patrol. The borders are supposed to be patrolled and were patrolled at the time by the U.S. military, usually the cavalry. You know? So this is, you know, like I said, the federal government it's too much power, and then they want to be treated like gods once they get that power. There's no need for an ATF. There's no need for an FBI. There's probably no need really, certainly for such a strong Justice Department that we have. You know? But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say, Mike. So anyway, enjoy the cold weather.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much here. And yeah, we have way too many of these agencies. We've got, what, 17 different intelligence agencies? Isn't one enough? They're constantly fighting and feuding with each other. Turf wars. Ridiculous here. Okay, getting on back to Israel. Permanent observer of Palestine to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, has criticized Israel's killing of civilians and called on the international community to condemn this aggression. And he's demanding the Security Council do something about it, which of course they won't, because the U.S. will veto it. Now, one thing that you notice when Israel's military starts to shoot people, they launch their army of online trolls. And apparently a lot of these are coming out of an organization called ACT.IL. And it's a global pro-Israel campaign, at least partially funded by Israel's government. And the project includes an app that enables users to earn points and prizes for promoting the State of Israel online by attacking BDS and other pro-Palestinian movements. And according to the Electronic Intifada, it's operating with a budget of more than $1 million. Gee, I wonder where they got that money from here. Another little story, this one is out of Middle East Monitor, how Western media bias allows Israel to get away with murder in Gaza. It's basically saying that an Israeli attack on Gaza was imminent. The Palestinians didn't provoke it. It was all politically motivated. Okay, hang on a second. Let me turn off the ringer. Okay, so they're talking about, you know, how back on the 12th, the Israeli military launched a major strike against Gaza, killing an Islamic Jihad commander, Bahaa Abu al-Ada, along with his wife, Asma. More strikes then followed, and it just escalated from there. And there was a tentative peace brokered by Israel, but it didn't last. Netanyahu wants to keep this going constantly. Okay, WhatsApp is blocking hundreds of Palestinian journalists' accounts, just shutting them down. And WhatsApp yesterday blocked access to hundreds of these journalists and activists who were providing live updates of the Israeli offensive on Gaza. And this came less than 24 hours after the end of the two-day Israeli offensive, which resulted in the death of 34 Palestinians and wounded 111 others. All right, we're going to go to the phones here. Peter in Los Angeles, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I just got back from the grocery store about 20 minutes ago, and I was standing in line, and I'm looking at the tabloids that are there, right?
Yes.
That are always there. You know, boy marries goat. I was kidnapped by aliens, that kind of stuff, and
yeah.
And I was looking at that, and I was wondering, wow, wouldn't this be just right up their alley to go after Epstein? I mean, why aren't they covering pedophilia, the royal family, Trump, Clinton? Not a freaking peep, Mike. Nothing in all these things. So I picked them up. I started looking at them. There's stuff on everything, but they'll go on anything, but not on that.
No, they love the sin stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this has all the earmarks of a great story. Royal family, big political people, ex-presidents, Secret Service, FBI, Mossad, but you don't see it, not one thing about it, and not even in the tabloids. And it's just interesting, and I know that congressman has called for an investigation on why ABC killed it. It's not just ABC; it's everybody else, and it's just it's another illustration of just how much we're owned. Nothing gets on without their approving it, and going on with these Palestinians that you're talking about with the WhatsApp thing. We are completely subverted by these people, utterly, completely subverted.
Those supermarket tabloids are meant to be distractions. They're not meant, to actually report the facts or to teach. They're there to basically keep people distracted and befuddled.
Yes, that's true. But on the other hand, in the past, with the National Enquirer, actually has broken some pretty good stories.
They cleaned up their act after they got sued by, I think it was either Carol Burnett or Cher.
Yes. You told us about that. That's how I found it.
Yeah, I did. All right, Peter, I'm going to put you on hold. We'll be back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Peter in Los Angeles, who asked a very cogent question, which is why the supermarket tabloids basically ignored the Epstein story, because it certainly is juicy. It's what the tabloids cover. But I think what's going to turn out to be the case, both with the tabloids and with ABC, the Queen obviously exerts a tremendous amount of influence around the world. And as I mentioned before, there is a growing movement in Great Britain to just let the royals go. And, no more funding from taxpayer money, and, no more bowing and scraping, and just let it go. And the Queen right now is basically involved in a fight to keep the reputation and the image of the royals intact. And it may be that she knew somebody who knew somebody over at the tabloids and said, please don't run this.
Well, that's what they talked about. ABC was talking about that, as a matter of fact, as well.
Yes.
All this pressure from the palace and all that. But wouldn't it be nice? I mean, this smug, his eyes blinked 50 times when he answered the question, and he said, I've never seen her before in my life, and we're talking about Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Little lying, pedophilia, and his philandering and sex-capades go back, scores of years.
Yes.
And the guy's a piece of crap, and I'd love to. It will never happen, but it would be great to see the guy extradited. I'd like to see him in some striped suit sitting on a bench at a trial next to Alan Dershowitz and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Really, wouldn't that be a great TV? Boy, I'd watch that one.
Yeah, I would watch that one as well. And, I don't have a particular truck with Prince Andrew. In fact, I knew he served in the Falkland Islands War, but prior to this whole Epstein thing, I wasn't paying any attention to him whatsoever. But this is a contentious issue. And, if the Royal Palace is putting pressure on our networks not to run certain stories, on our newspapers not to run certain stories, that should be alarming to the American people.
Well, yeah. And by the way, his nickname for decades has been Randy Andy. And
I had not heard.
Yeah, that goes back. I mean, that's all this guy's all about. But it's incredible, Mike. Beyond, of course, the royal family can exert, and the British foreign service can exert a lot of influence on us not running stories, I'm sure. But on the other hand, look at the things like WhatsApp. Look at the other side of it. We haven't seen an indictment or anything at all on Jiz Maxwell, the Mossad spy, or none of these guys. None of it.
Well, I think she's down in Brazil, where she's safe from extradition.
Yeah, but it's just what they can put on and what they can take off the national discourse. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. Anyway, Peter, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We have a caller on the line, Al in Canada. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. You doing well?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
On the weekend, I sent you a link to a video on YouTube, and it's Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show. From 1985, he made a joke about, quote-unquote, Prince Andrew. So they knew all the way back then what he was like. They knew it. It's just disgusting. Why does this I'm not even going to. I was almost going to say, why does this take so long to come out? But we already know what the answer to that is. I mean, money and power, right?
Yes.
And Weinstein, Seth MacFarlane made a little joke about him, I think, around 2007 when he was at the Grammys, in relation to, women not having to be, put on the casting couch any longer because they'd been nominated for an Oscar. So these sick people, and there are a lot of them, the reason it's never reported in the mainstream media is because they're a part of it.
Yes.
The owners of those crummy, mind-numbing crap that they put out, the owners of that stuff, they are part of this. They are sick, twisted individuals. And honestly, jail's too good for them. Way too good. Got to end.
I would tend to agree.
Yep. And even there's a CIA officer that is saying that Donald Trump is right now at war with the elite pedophile ring. I don't know whether that's true or not. I mean, for all I know, Donald Trump put this out, but it just seems that since he's become president of the United States, all this stuff's really, really coming to light now, and a lot of it being brought down. So I don't know whether he really has a lot to do it, because we're never going to hear the truth anyways, right? So
probably not.
No, it just seems that way. Anyway, that's all I have for you. But it's like 1985, Mike. Prince Andrew was born in what, like 62 or something?
He's 59 years old right now.
Yeah. So even then, all the way back then, Mike, they knew that what this guy was all about. So, you know, and that interview on the BBC, the guy's a psychopath. He's obviously a psychopath. I mean, he might have been born that way, so it's not really his fault, but, you know, we all are brought up to know the difference between right and wrong, whether or not, you know, you have any moral compass or a conscience to even think about these things. Anyway, it's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, and I got to see a lot of this stuff when I was working in Hollywood. And
yeah. It's disgraceful. Anyway, thanks for your time, Mike. I appreciate it. You have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Sebastian in Sweden. Aloha, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike. I just wanted to tell you that our Prime Minister here today came out and said that even if there wasn't any foreigners here, the immigration, we would still have this amount of criminality and violence. Can you imagine? He's such a piece of bovine excrement. I tell you, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. But anyway, I want to let you know. I know that Peter last week said something about sending the military in and everything, and that was all good and well. I really liked his comment about that. I think it was great if that would ever happen here. But the last campaign they had going on with the recruiting for the military, it was only they wanted to have a military that was not manly. It was like women. It was like two lesbians kissing and stuff like that. They wanted to recruit people like that in the Swedish military now. So, I mean, of course women can, go in the military. I don't mind that, but I mean, it had to be specifically to certain kind of women. And but today that, I don't know if you took this up, but Urban, came out and said Central Europe, it will be the future to protect democracy. Talking about Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, and then the EU Parliament, they condemned Poland today because they passed such a hard pedophile law in Poland. I mean, how hard can it? Of course, everybody should have a pedophile law, and they said it was too hard because it was all the children under 15 years. I don't understand what these people are in Brussels. They just, completely out of touch.
Yeah, I don't know what's going wrong with the world today, but it's not just the pedophile thing, and it's the transgender thing, and it just sometimes it feels like the world is going crazy, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either. But for your listeners, if they're interested, I saw a really good documentary over the weekend, but it was by a Swede who had been living in America, and actually he's from Malmö, the city where they have lots of bombings. I call it Little Beirut now, and it's called Sweden Dying to Be Multicultural, and it's a documentary on YouTube. I would recommend everyone to see that. It's very good. Although it was 3 years ago, so you can imagine what's happening today. It's even worse. I mean, there's Gothenburg, the second largest city, is not going to have any Christmas parade this year, nor will they have so many Christmas lights. And they had 5 robberies this past weekend, and it seems like Christmas lights would light up the place so the police could, see the perpetrators. So
yes,
yeah. Well, that's it. That's all I had to say, and you take care of yourself.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. And getting on back to the news here, this is probably going to anger you somewhat. It certainly did me. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced that Washington no longer regards the Israeli settlements in the West Bank as being in violation of international law. Now, up until President Obama, the U.S. policy was that, we're not going to take any position on it, but we're not going to say that it's okay. And the Trump administration just said okay, which is kind of weird because we're getting this other story. This came out of Middle East Monitor about how the Trump administration is now feeling frustrated and disappointed with Netanyahu. And yet he's still doing these major favors for Israel. Now, a lot of people are getting very, very worried about the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Al-Rama Gate, saying that Israel's threats to these structures have been getting worse. And basically, they're saying the threat is due to Israeli aggression and the lack of Arab, regional, international, and Islamic deterrence in response to this. Now, there's a lot of people in Israel just want that all torn down because they think their new temple is supposed to go there. Actually, the first temple was located off to the southeast. All righty. The United Nations has passed a resolution urging Israel to pay Lebanon $850 million over this oil spill during the regime's 2006 war on Lebanon. The committee passed the draft titled Oil Slick on Lebanese Shores in a recorded vote of 158 in favor, 9 against, with 6 abstentions. Yeah, that'll be the day when Israel writes that check. All right, down in Bolivia, things are going crazy down there. Morales, as you know, stepped down, and they've already installed a new leader there. And one of the ramifications of the coup d'etat is that Bolivia had a partnership with China for lithium production. Talking last week about how important lithium has become to modern electronics and the batteries in your smartphone, your tablets, and so forth. And now, basically, they've broken that link between Bolivia and China. Now, China's got plenty of rare earths, but this is still going to sting. China is slamming British and American blatant interference in Hong Kong as the university standoff ends violently. And what is going on over there, the reason so much focused on this one university, it's the hub for the internet, the Hong Kong Internet Exchange, and about 99% of Hong Kong's internet traffic goes through the center, and China wants it under their control. Now, the U.S. Senate has voted a show of support for the Hong Kong protesters. That's going to annoy China even more. All right, Trump has hit his little Twitter feed, and he's become over-dependent on Twitter to get his message out. Not everybody is on Twitter, not everybody's paying attention to Twitter, and as one of our callers said earlier, Trump has basically got to take control of the press room in the White House. He's got to control who gets in, who does not get in. He needs to work with the independent media to get his message out there. And frankly, I can't speak for the rest of the independent media, but I'm feeling like Trump just walked away. Got him into the White House, or to be more accurate, we kept Hillary out of the White House, and now he's just walked away. So I don't know. Anyway, Trump has tweeted at North Korea's Kim Jong-un, tells him, get the deal done, and dropped a hint that he's going to do another visit to North Korea. So we'll see what happens there. Here's an interesting little article. This is from Information Clearinghouse, and it asks an important question. With what's going on in Paris, with what's going on in Iraq, what's going on in Iran, they're asking, why aren't Americans rising up like we are seeing all over the planet? Now, I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see people being bloodied in the streets and everything, but it's an important question. What is there about the psyche of the average American where the government can basically dump all over us and we just sit here and take it? Being a masochist does not make you a loyal citizen. Over in Europe, Greece has become the centerpiece of China's Belt and Road Initiative in the Eastern Mediterranean. And you can understand, being around as long as they are, the Greeks feel their culture is superior to others. And apparently Xi Jinping exploited that sense of superiority, and Greece has now signed on 16 different agreements into the Belt and Road Initiative, which is going to annoy Trump. All right, we got callers waiting on the line here. Rick in Arizona, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I was really thinking about the impeachment thing, but I found out a couple days ago that with all this excitement on impeachment, the Trump administration had enough time and enough wherewithal to launch this thing called Project Guardian.
Okay.
Project Guardian is a program now that the government is helping the state and local people clean up all the loose ends on these guns that are still out there in the hands of people that lost their right to own a gun because they were involved with they slapped their wife and there was a domestic, but they never went and took the guns. So there's a lot of guns out there, let's say, for example, that have been that were violated. They had violations, let's say, under Obama, but nobody wanted to go pick up their guns. Okay, it might have been a mayor's grandson or something. They didn't want to get his gun because it's just political hot potato grabbing guns. Well, Project Guardian now is going to help the state and local people go after these guns that are in the possession of people that, you know, they're supposed to be giving them up. So Trump's administration is going to help the local people grab these guns on people that are supposed to have been given up a long time ago. And it's just like, let's see, what did Trump not getting along with Netanyahu, but then again, they lightened up on the settlements. Yeah, this is a distraction, people. This is a distraction. They're coming for your guns. Just wait till 2020. Thanks for taking my call, Mike.
All right, you've got it. Thank you very much for the phone call, and thanks for the heads up. We're going to switch over to Tom in Indiana. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'm so glad you're in today because early this morning I checked and it said he wasn't going to be live, and I felt really dejected. And I was glad you're on tonight. Today I was thinking about why Obama hasn't endorsed Joe Biden. It's because Joe Biden hasn't guaranteed Obama a pardon if he's elected. Because it looks to me and all the people out there, it looks like Obama is going to be indicted sometime soon, along with all the rest of the guys. I'd be very, very surprised if that happened. Well, think of this: if all the intelligence get indicted, and they say Obama is too, wouldn't it be nice if Joe said, "Hey, if you elect me, I'll make sure Obama doesn't go to jail. He'll get a pardon," and then everybody that voted for Obama will want to vote for Joe. Well, it's certainly possible. I mean, you know, Gerald Ford was anointed to be the vice president with the understanding that when he took over the Oval Office, that he would basically end the investigation into Watergate, issue pardons to everybody, declare that our long national nightmare was finally over. And so, you know, Richard Nixon went out there to California, living on the beach, walking around with his little Bermuda shorts and his metal detector, until he did that one talk show interview for which he got a huge amount of money. Oh, David Frost? Yeah, that was it. One. Okay. Yeah, it's a good theory to float there, and you know, tell me the national disgrace it would be if we had a president and the minority president that was indicted. That would be a national disgrace, wouldn't it? And everybody, even the media, would want to keep.
It certainly would,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that Obama has already called in a bunch of favors, if you will. I think the main reason why he has not endorsed Biden yet is he's waiting for more shakeout in the Democratic field, because Biden isn't doing very well. His poll numbers are going down. Every time he opens his mouth, he makes a fool of himself. And Obama may be waiting to see if Hillary does, in fact, step back in, at which point he'll endorse her.
So whoever gets it, he's going to want a pardon from that person. As bleak as his future is, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm sure he'll get it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. Stay in there and keep healthy, okay?
I'm doing my best to do just that. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And getting on back to the news here. All right, Mike Pompeo, shortly after announcing that the United States does not consider the Israeli settlements in the West Bank to be a violation of international law, an opinion not shared by pretty much the rest of the civilized world, he went on out there basically screaming about China. Okay, more about this when we come back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. So Mike Pompeo is out there bad-mouthing China. And here is where the real issues become evident. He says the people of China are working to make their lives better. Well, isn't everybody? He says what we're confronting today is a challenge from the Chinese Communist Party, which has also changed in the last handful of years and engaged in activity that is deeply inconsistent with not only what I think is best for the world or what America thinks is best for the world, but inconsistent with what they've promised. Now, you want to talk about arrogance. Mike Pompeo thinks he knows what's best for the world. China's not going along with this, my goodness. Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State, has a dire warning out there. He's saying the coming conflict between the U.S. and China will be worse than the world wars. He says it is time for the two sides to sort out their differences. It's the first time Kissinger said something I agree with. Meanwhile, down in Africa, we're seeing a replay of the post-World Wars great power rivalry. When World War II was over, a lot of the colonial powers had to leave. They didn't have the money. The U.S. moved on in. Fortunately, the problem they're dealing with is these countries which experienced genuine national liberation movements, nearly without exception, opted for an alliance with the Soviet Union. All right, let's talk about the economic news now. Doug Casey is out there on how the homeless crisis could soon become an epidemic. He says it's really hitting the liberal West Coast cities, including San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, many others. People living on the streets are overrunning these cities. Residents have to deal with human feces, syringes, disease, and filth every day in some areas. That has become worse than the dirtiest slums of Brazil, Kenya, and India. Now, there was an interesting little story out there about how this business owner is being sued by the city for not removing the feces and syringes and the filth from in front of his place of business. I don't think it's ever going to get to court because he is not qualified to be handling that material. You need a hazmat team in there. So he goes into court and says, I'm not trained, as a hazmat worker. I don't know what I'm doing. I could make myself sick. I could make my customers sick. All right, we're going to grab a phone call. Bruce in Texas. Aloha, Bruce. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike.
Hello. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Yeah, okay, great. I'll be real quick about it. That way we can continue on with your report. I just want to remind everybody, because the people who want to see the right thing get done a lot of times get bamboozled. They get maneuvered. They get psyoped. And I don't want to be cruel, but these people that still, it's not even branded as Q, but it's put out there that sooner or later they're going to get rounded up. Trump is going to drain the swamp, what have you, and it goes beyond Trump, before Trump. But let's just look at this. A.G. Barr, he represented the shooter, the government, at Ruby Ridge.
Yes.
Okay, and so he did that. He punched his ticket there. Okay. FBI director, or the special counsel Mueller, was FBI director during 9/11. Okay.
Yes.
He covered up that thing. He sent the dancing Israelis, what have you, back to Israel and shut down any kind of investigation there. Eric Holder, AG under Obama, he was in charge of cleanup for the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yes.
And he stonewalled Jesse Trinidu trying to get a video of the bombing that his brother was wrongly accused of and murdered in federal custody. So you have all these. They get their ticket punched, and they're up there in the top, right there next to Trump now. And
yeah.
And just think about that next time you hear something about there's going to be a draining of the swamp.
Yeah,
the swamp is all over.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm tired of hearing it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. No, when it happens, I'll pay attention. Until then, I'm not even listening anymore to all these promises that there are going to be indictments and so forth. We're being told that the IG report will be out before Thanksgiving. I don't think so. They'll find another reason to delay it.
Yeah, is it being edited as we speak? You don't know these things. We don't know these things.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to have to let you go there, Bruce, and take another commercial break, and we'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to take a phone call from Chance in West Virginia. Aloha, Chance. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike. Glad to hear you're feeling better. I heard some people talk about Joe Biden possibly being brought up on charges about this Ukraine deal.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh. I have to laugh because let me tell you, every politician in Delaware has the backing of the DuPont. That's DuPont country, Delaware.
Yeah.
You don't fart in Delaware. You don't fart in Delaware without the DuPont's approval. It's like Utah with the Mormons. You don't become a politician in Utah if you don't have Mormon backing. And these are powerful people. The DuPonts are very powerful. So I don't see anything happening to Joe Biden, and I was just wondering your opinion.
Yeah, we seem to have a social strata, if you will, in our country, above which people suffer no consequences for what they do. People like the Clintons, like Obama, like Biden. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I just wanted to point out that connection that a lot of people probably aren't aware of. Okay, Mike, take care now.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. And getting on back to the economic news here. Over at the Wall Street Journal, they've done a careful analysis of Elizabeth Warren's plan and saying that it would bring tax rates over 150% for some. And she's proposing a wealth tax and a levy on unrealized gains. Now, obviously, you can't collect taxes that don't exist, but the real problem is this is going to put a damper on investments. Because if you're going to get taxed at that rate for investments, you're just going to say, oh, I'm going to keep my money at home. And basically, it's a reminder that a lot of these candidates are out there with these great sounding plans, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Deal, and they haven't really worked them out. They haven't thought them through. They haven't done the math. If it sounds good, they run with it. Over at CNBC, Eunice Yoon is now reporting that China wants to wait until next year's election before getting back to serious trade talks. That means the deal is fully blown off. Trump's not going to get a deal with China unless he wins re-election next year. Meanwhile, Venezuela has copied a tactic being used by Iran to skirt U.S. sanctions. They're still exporting oil. In fact, they're exporting more than they were before by this very simple device of having the location transponders on the ship turn off as soon as they leave port, turn back on as they approach their destination. So nobody knows where these tankers are. They're referred to as invisible oil tankers. All right, we reported on this last week, but we're going to mention it again. The Supreme Court is looking ready to uphold Trump's bid to end DACA. And High Court's conservative majority seems to think the administration has provided an adequate basis for ending the policies, and in spaces even wondered if the courts had power to review the dispute. So, DACA does not confer lawful status on defense against deportation. It delays removal for a renewable 2-year period and allows beneficiaries to apply for work permits. So, Obama established this program in 2012. To qualify, recipients must have entered the country unlawfully before the age of 16. Show 5 years of continuous residence in the U.S., graduate high school, serve in the armed forces, or enroll in school. Now, last week, Trump came on out and said, these people aren't under the age of 16 anymore. They're young adults. Many of them have criminal records. And apparently, nearly 80,000 of these illegal aliens had an arrest record before they were approved for the DACA program. Very good here. Pardon me. Okay, interesting development in the Julian Assange case. Apparently the senior judge, Lady Emma Arbuthnot, she's the chief magistrate overseeing the extradition proceedings of Julian Assange. Her son is the vice president and cybersecurity advisor of a firm heavily invested in a company founded by GCHQ and MI5, which seeks to stop data leaks. So she's compromised, and as a result, she's been asked to recuse herself from this case. So, good. Because according to reports we were getting from the courtroom, it was very obvious she had already decided Assange is going to go back to the United States. Over at Amazon.com, they're catching a little bit of heat because they've got this new children's book narrating the Nativity story. And it was labeled as its #1 new release in children's Christian holiday fiction. And a lot of people got very upset with it. It's going to hurt their sales. It's definitely going to hurt their sales. Part of that war on Christmas. Every year it seems to get worse and worse. Oh, you can't have the Christmas lights. You can't have Christmas decorations. You might offend somebody from another religion. You'll see the menorahs and the dreidels go up. Got to see that in Honolulu. Every year it was the same thing. The Christmassy part of the Christmas thing got smaller and smaller and smaller, but the menorahs and dreidels were still there. Apparently, Google has been caught censoring conservative sites, running blacklists, and favoring search results towards big business. Google's really become useless. Okay, we ran this story last week, but we got a little bit more detail, and it has to do with the fact that the breathalyzer unit that is carried by police in their cars has been found with testing to be highly inaccurate, that it can register 40% higher alcohol content than is really there. And a lot of people have been arrested and thrown in jail on the basis of these defective machines. And then when you add into it all these police officers who are caught on their own body cameras and security cameras, they're caught lying because they want that arrest. This month, NYPD cop Michael Bergman lied about nearly being struck by a suspect's car. And they looked at the tape, they found out, no, didn't happen. Just did not happen. Early this year, Florida cop Zach Wester was caught on his own body camera of planting drugs on innocent people. He's now in the slammer awaiting trial. This past summer, thanks to their own body cams, 2 police officers in Willis, Texas, were convicted of lying about a suspect evading arrest. Oh, you're going to love this one. The Pope has become green, and he's talking now about adding a new ecological sin to the list of existing major sins. And there we are. So he's considering this ecological sins in a new bid to battle climate change. Well, Pope, don't you have a direct line? God? Can't you just call God up and say, can you stop changing the climate? A lot easier, I think. Anyway, speaking in Rome last Friday, Pope Francis said it's a duty to introduce the new sin to the Catholic Church's teachings as a way to protect our common home. All right. Now then, a little bit of trouble here. Officials are now warning about the dangers of using public USB charging stations. There are units out there that look like charging stations. They look perfectly harmless, but they are planting malware on your device. And so they're saying that you should take a little AC charging unit. They're small, it'll fit in your luggage, and charge your device that way. Keep yourself safe and secure. Now, the question I'm thinking is, these bogus charging stations have been installed, places like airports. Somebody installed them. There has to be a record somewhere about who put them in there. That's your first stepping stone on the trail to finding out who did the malware. Anyway. All right, apparently there was malware called Pegasus, and it looks like it's come back. WhatsApp users on alert after Facebook warned of another vulnerability exploited by hackers. It's a real problem out there. It's a real problem out there. Now, this next one, I've complained about this a lot myself. And it's an article here from MIT, no less. Why are weather apps still so unreliable? And they are. They really are. I mean, you've got AccuWeather, the Weather Channel, Dark Sky, Weather Bug, and a whole bunch more. And what happens, you can have them all running and you'll get different results. In fact, to be very honest, the most accurate weather forecasts I'm getting for this part of Indiana are on the local rock and roll station. And MIT says the problem is because they're using different sources. They're not having the reports reviewed by a trained meteorologist. They just put it all out there with the together with the advertising. And some of these are not free. And I had the same problem when I was still living in Hawaii. That the weather apps were completely unreliable. Now, here today in Indiana, it said cloudy, chance of rain in the evening. It was cloudy in the morning. And just about the time we started this broadcast, the sky cleared. Beautiful blue sky. Now it's cloudy again. So I think people need to sort of develop their own weather sensitivity, their own chops, because a lot of people relying on these apps. It's going to be a sunny day, you walk out of the house without your umbrella, and you wind up getting soaked. So Eric Floor, who's founder of Forecast Watch, says that each app gets its forecast from different places, utilizing different prediction models and relying on different meteorologists to interpret the data. And they never agree, and they don't. They really, really don't. One of the components that you will find in vaccines is ethyl mercury. Now, the mercury that you're worried about when you're eating fish is methyl mercury. And when you go to the doctor to get your shot, they're going to say, well, the ethyl mercury, it's not as toxic and it doesn't persist in the body. You will flush it away. Well, it turns out that's another lie by the vaccine industry. Ethyl mercury is 50 times more toxic than methyl mercury, and it persists in the human brain twice as long as methyl mercury. Remember, mercury exposure can cause mental problems. Anyway, over in Great Britain, there's a mother who is now suing the Tavistock Clinic in Leeds for administering to very young children experimental and transgender pharmaceuticals that a recent study determined to be devastating and irreversible. That's the important part here. So this prominent state-funded gender clinic in Britain is centered around transitioning underage children into other genders using puberty blockers, which Tavistock has long claimed is a reversible process. As it turns out, they're not reversible, and they end up ruining these kids' lives. So they're being sued for using false and misleading information. Apparently, this woman has a 15-year-old child of her own at Tavistock who's being victimized by these very procedures, and she wants them stopped. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now from Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day, Michael. Aloha. Yeah, Michael, aloha. First I want to clear something. You can hear me okay? Yeah, Michael. First
yeah, you're on the air.
Okay, yeah. Last week, Dustin had said something about, Tom, Rachel Maddow doesn't care what you think. Well, listen, I don't support Rachel Maddow. She don't get a penny of my money, and I don't have illegals cutting my grass. And I don't care if Rachel Maddow makes $30 million or $60 million a year. So what? I'm not paying her, and neither are you, and other people listen to this crap. So
okay, Tom, I got to put you on hold. Don't hang up. I'm going to bring you back right after these commercials. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Tom in Florida about, well, various things, including impeachment. So just sort of pick it up, Tom.
Yeah, Michael. First off, Dustin called in last week. He said something about Rachel Maddow makes $30 million. I don't care if she makes $100 million. All she does is she's not building up this country. She's tearing it down. All these homosexuals, liberals on the Democrat media, 85% of it was on the news. Breitbart had it on today. All these leftist talking heads, they're making multiple millions of dollars. Fine for them. They're not getting none of my money. I don't pay them. Now, if these schmucks like Soros wants to pay these people, fine. But, these people are not building up this country. They're tearing it down to shreds. That's what they want. They're trying to push a civil war in this country. They can all go to double toothpicks, and every one of them should be arrested for supporting sanctuary cities like we've been talking for months now. And as far as that goes, it's Colin Kaepernick. That's another joke. This guy, this Colin Kaepernick, he's not but a militant. Okay, he looks like an Iggy. The guy looks like a freaking Iggy, okay? I don't care what anybody thinks about this Colin Kaepernick. He's not but a disgrace. And he that hair and all that. Come on, what kind of nutcase is this guy? And then on top of that, Michael, I got to ask you this. What would happen if we segregated the leagues? We had a white NFL and a black NFL. Which league do you think would fold up first?
I assume because the white league would fold up because, they're not as strong players.
Is that, well, I don't know about that. I'm talking about the money aspect of it. I'm looking at the money aspect. How many people are going to go watch, are people really going to watch it? I mean, this guy's so militant. He's like, well, the United States is so bad. Well, why don't you go to somewhere else and play? Why don't you go to Canada, Kaepernick, and play in Canada and listen to stand up for their national anthem? I mean, come on. This is all a joke. And I don't believe in that crap either, that they're stronger. That's another nonsense. Strongest men in the world are Icelandic men, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, what the reason I calling your show is this. It's condescending every time I call. Dustin always wants to say Trump this. Trump can only do so much. He's one individual. He's a human being, okay? He's a president of the United States. He's duly elected. We all know what they're trying to do with the Electoral College with Texas. I say, like I told you last week, send them all over to the New England states and see what all these liberal crackpots, well, they're all heading down to the South. You know that? You realize that, Michael? They're all moving to Carolinas. They're moving to North Florida. They're moving to Georgia. Yep. These people don't want to pay those taxes up. Look at Illinois. They're fleeing out of there every day. I can prove it to you. I can tell you, all my family's getting out of there. They're all moving to Arizona. They're all going to and believe it or not, a lot of them going to New Mexico. Think about it.
Yes.
They don't want to stay up there freezing their butt off. No. And, Dustin loves New Jersey. Fine, great. It's a beautiful area. I've been there. I've been to New York. I've been all over Rotten Apple. I've been all over. Okay, but I wouldn't live there. I'm not going to pay those taxes. No way. And then have the liberalism where your vote ain't worth a stink. And the real reason I called you about what's going on with Louisiana, Michael, here's the real reason I called your show, and I hope somebody calls in after this. You know what I just saw on Breitbart and Drudge and all these other? Yeah, Drudge is a total homo communist. In my book, he's flipped out big time. This guy, Matt Drudge. Okay, and I know all about Drudge. I can tell you. But you want one night, Michael? I'll tell you off the air about Drudge. Believe me. But I'll hang on. So I got to tell you what happened in Louisiana.
Okay, well, we got to take a break here for station identification. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Daniel in British Columbia. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Got a couple of topics I wanted to touch on. Let's see. War on Christmas. I don't know if you remember, I think it was a year ago, they had this big uproar about this show or this song called Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yes.
And they went and banned it all over the place. And I just did a little digging and was like finding out, it started out in like Cleveland at some big radio station, but then it went completely nationwide and on a lot of radio stations that are sort of all connected. And the company behind it was behind iHeartRadio, who just filed for Chapter 11. So good for them. And just a couple of those tribe members that shall go unnamed. There was a backlash in Canada because they banned it all across Canada, and everyone bitched and they said this is wholesome music from a bygone era, and it has nothing to do with date rape or anything like that. It's just a wholesome Christmas time song. And so now it's back on. So there's good news, you know. There's some good news here and there. And the next thing I wanted to talk about briefly, there was one other topic after this, but Google just bought something called Fitbit. Now, Fitbit is a little thing you wear on your arm that can tell your heartbeat, your all your pressure levels, so forth. I mean, it's kind of strange how Google decided to buy it. So I started digging into this, thinking, well, why would they care? Apparently, it's quite popular. This thing, it's getting more popular. But they also have something called Fitbit Pay, and you can go ahead and scan it at a retailer, and it just scans your debit card. So it's kind of hooked up to your arm, and you can kind of pay. And I know all the people that are big into the Mark of the Beast thing are going to freak out about it, but I just thought that was weird. I also thought because YouTube went and bought 23andMe, the DNA database company, you know, I thought, what the hell do they need to get into that business? You know, I just think that these tech companies are getting too big. Trump needs to, you know, crack down on them because it's like Standard Oil all over again, and AT&T. They're getting too big. They've got too much power. They're you know, censoring people, and now what's called Alphabet. They own Google, YouTube, 23andMe. Now they own Fitbit. So I just think it's getting too much. One other thing I wanted to add. I know I've been watching Netflix lately. I don't have TV, but I watch Netflix once in a while. And I've gone on your show before about how more and more it's, you know, Hitler this and Holocaust this, and that hasn't changed. It's getting worse. But finally, there's a good show, a really good show that everyone, all the Rivero Rangers should watch. It's called Tucker, and I know you've seen this movie. Tucker, the Man in His Dream.
Yes.
And it's a Jeff Bridges movie about this entrepreneur that built a car that was like, had the best safety features. It had seatbelts.
It was way ahead of its time.
Injection. Exactly. And it seems like there's parallels to Howard Hughes, and you know the government didn't like Howard Hughes. He was too big. Kind of reminds me of Elon Musk a bit. Tucker actually built something called the Tucker turret, and that's what made his money, which was those little gun turrets for the B-2 bombers or B-52 bombers. And he made an armored vehicle that was too fast for the War Department. They said armored vehicles they should only go to 35 miles an hour. His went to like 50 or 60 or something.
Yes.
And anyways, I just thought the Rivero's Rangers should definitely check that one out. It's called Tucker, the Man in His Dream. And it kind of gives you that idea of American free enterprise and the can-do spirit that Americans have.
Yeah, but when you look at what the big automakers did to him to shut him down.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but you can definitely see. It's one of those must-see films, and it's on Netflix now. So that's about it.
Okay, well, did you want to talk about Christmas?
Sure. Yeah, I love Christmas. I'm just I'm happy that you and Claire are living in Santa Claus. I think she's going to be tickled when she gets into the choir and all that kind of thing. I'm sure she will. Yeah. You're a great husband for moving to Santa Claus, Indiana.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents for that. I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and she just loves the whole idea. And Christmas is for children, you know, and it's good for adults too. But it's just a time of love and forgiveness and togetherness. And the fact that people are trying to get rid of the whole thing and make it, a commercial venture, it's just sickening to me. I don't go buy a bunch of stuff, and we make our own gifts sometimes. Instead of buying stuff that's you're going to sell in a garage sale in 2 years because no one really likes it. But yeah, I don't know. I just think people should take a step back and think what really is important to you, and sort of paying it forward, and instead of maybe doing something like shoveling an older person's walk. That's a good Christmas gift. That kind of thing.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, no, that's about it.
All right, fine. Well, we're going to go back to Tom. Apparently, I cut him off, and he still had one more thing he wanted to say. So, Tom, thank you for waiting. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, first off, talking about Christmas and Santa Claus under Obama, you couldn't even say those words. Now with Trump, you at least can say Merry Christmas. Obama, they wanted to say you have Caesar's greeting, and you can't even bring the word Christmas up when Sortero was president, or say Merry Christmas or Hello Santa Claus. Now with Trump, at least you can bring those words back into the frame of what this country's all about as far as our holiday seasons go. But that's one thing that Trump has helped out quite a bit. But yeah, Michael, getting back to what I really want to call your show about, and I want everybody, hopefully they're listening, who are.
Yeah.
I was watching Matt Drudge. Saturday night, the night of the election with Louisiana with the governorship, Michael. And this guy Drudge, he's very sneaky. He brings up the numbers, and he held on that Raspone was winning. And I noticed how Drudge operates. This guy has a modus operandi. It's kind of wild. But anyway, getting to that, that you realize in the state of Louisiana, over 98% of the Afro-Americans voted for Bell, okay? For Edwards. Yeah. For Edwards. They voted for Edwards, 98% of the Afro-Americans in the state of Louisiana. If you talk about racism, you want to talk about who's racial here? I mean, can you imagine if 98% all white Caucasians in this country voted for the white candidate on every election? What the media talking heads, the spinning heads would be screaming out?
Yeah.
But 98, New Orleans was 99% of the city of New Orleans, Afro-Americans, voted for John Bell Edwards. And they didn't give Raspone not even 1%. Okay? The statewide figures of the Afro-Americans, they're 31% of the electorate in Louisiana. They represent 31%. They're 33% of the population, yet 31% of them are in the electorate voting of the state of Louisiana. And they gave 98% of their vote to Bell Edwards. That's the only reason that guy Bell Edwards won the state of the governor. But, Michael, ask yourself this. The other guy that Drudge was reporting, the other guy, the Secretary of State in Louisiana, he won by almost 275,000 votes. So what's going on there? Bell Edwards barely squeaks by, but the other guy that ran for Secretary of State and every other position in the state of Louisiana is Republican. All the House cabinets, the whole state is Republican except this one guy, Bell Edwards, who's the governor. And the state that has highest, next to New Jersey, they have the highest insurance rates, all these things that was going on in Louisiana, and the people still keep voting them in, the Democrat. And what do these black Americans not understand? The Democrats are the party of the Ku Klux Klan. They talk about, Donald Trump is in a Republican Party, friends, people, okay? He's not a Democrat. We're taxing the living crap out of you, okay? Does the Democrats ever give you an economy like you have right now? Did you ever have independence with petroleum, oil, or all the other fluids that you have put in your vehicle? No. Under Donald Trump, you've got all that. But you know what? These people are still don't care because they want to take the white man down. And this is all about Texas and Arizona and Florida that will wipe out the Electoral College. And that's why I call your show all the time, because I'm going to push this point to the bitter end. This is what it's all about. They want to take this country over, Michael. And they're going to do it through the Electoral College because these pigs, the Democrats, they will not admit. They would love to get rid of the Electoral College and make this a popular vote. That's what they really want to do. But they can't because the Democrats are too smart for their dingbat butts. But you know what? You got all these guys live in New York, New Jersey, always calling in your show, but don't they realize their vote? No wonder they don't want to go vote because their vote doesn't count. They don't even have city council people are Republicans up there. Their whole system of government's Democrat. Look at Michigan, Detroit. Finally, it's coming around. Michigan's finally turning because those blacks have finally got the message. Hey, wait a minute. What have these Democrats done for us over the last 65 years? The richest city in the world in 1953 and 54. Now it's a destitution. Look at California. I mean, let's not play with this nonsense anymore. This whole modus operandi is to destroy the white power structure in this country. And if Trump doesn't get the message, and the rest of these people that are running our government, they better you're going to get a rude awakening. I can tell you. It's going to be a rude awakening. Now, going back to Louisiana, this guy, Bell Edwards, he's not really even a Democrat, Michael. This guy's a moderate. He wants total abortion. He's a big-time Second Amendment guy. So if he would have even run as a presidential candidate in the Democratic Party right now, they'd kick him right out. Like they did that one guy that was running John something, the guy John that was running the Democratic Party. Remember him? About 3 months ago? He was running, and the Democrats have gone so much far communistic, Bolshevik, that a guy like Bell Edwards would never have a chance to run for president. And now now he's talking about Biden is moderate. Biden is so left, it's sick. That Biden's like, and you know what, this whole hoax with this narrative of what they're trying to do to Trump about Ukraine, this is all about Biden. He's on tape, Michael, admitting what he was doing. He was the one who was doing the bribery. He was doing the quid pro quo. I mean, this guy Biden and his son stealing millions of dollars out of Ukraine and China, and this guy's not behind bars. No, I'm ashamed of Trump for not arresting these people because he's the commander-in-chief. He should have those people arrested right on the spot, even with these commissioners and these governors in these sanctuary states. I'm going to call the White House tomorrow, and I'm going to demand that Trump starts arresting these people. And everybody in your audience ought to call the White House and demand that Trump starts arresting these people because they're breaking Article 8, like you're always saying, Michael. So it just blows my mind what's going on. And these people call your show, and one guy's questioning me about Rachel Maddow. I don't care how much money Rachel Maddow makes. I'm not giving her a penny of my money, and I don't pay something illegal to cut my grass. If I have to get out there in crutches, I cut my grass. I cut my grass. I had a weed eat my grass one time when I was on a crutch. Okay? So I don't want to hear about these people ain't doing jobs that Americans won't do. That's a bunch of crap. Just they're paying these people in these plants $5 an hour to do cut chickens' heads off and all that. Come on. You know, Michael, I told you a while back, my brother was a block mason out in the state of California back in 96. He had to leave there. In 1996, he was making $28 an hour. And all his friends were Anglos, and they were doing blocks, glass block, brick. They were doing everything. They were all making big money. You know what the highest paid block mason in California is making in Southern California right now? San Diego and all over that area? Emmett and all that area? You'll be lucky you can get a guy that makes $13 an hour laying block, being a professional mason. So you tell me what immigration's done. And I never hear no black guys calling your show. No black Americans. And I know there's a couple of guys listening to your show. I never hear one black Afro-American call your show and actually say what illegal immigration is doing to the black community in this country. You know what they just had on Breitbart, Michael? And not one guy in the audience, black man, will call in and say what illegals have actually cost Afro-Americans in this country as far as jobs.
Yes.
You know what they showed on Breitbart and Matt Drudge? I was looking in Newsmax. They were just saying that these illegals, by leaving their country, are actually hurting their country they're leaving. Worse than they're hurting the United States, but these people that are leaving there are hurting their country tremendously. It's all over the news. And, you know, by them leaving their country, what are they, there's a vacuum in their countries that are getting destroyed even further. Think about it. And that was an article I saw on all 3 stations. And another thing is, this guy Adam Schiff, there's a big thing going on with this guy Schiff and this guy Ed Buck. It's been all over the news today. You heard about that?
Yes.
This guy Ed Buck and Schiff, the guy went to his house 16 times. They had him recorded going in this guy Buck's house 16 times, and that's not on the news right now. That's not in the hearings. None of the Congress people in the Congress, in the Republican Party in the Congress are sitting on that impeachment bullcrap, are talking about Schiff going to a guy that's paid black guys to have sex with him, and he wanted him OD'd or two of them OD'd or something. What's going on? And then he had some little girl got paid. The guy got Schiff's buddy? What's the story on that? I heard something about that on the news today. You heard about that? The 9-year-old kid or something?
Yeah.
Michael, what's that story now?
Well, they're, obviously protecting each other.
Absolutely, they're protecting each other. And, this guy Schiff with his eyes bulging out of his head, and he's what a guy that goes in his house 16 times and giving millions of dollars to the Democratic, the people to get Democrats elected like this guy Soros. And another thing, Michael, I ask you, I'll hang up. I know you got another caller. This guy Soros, if this guy's wanted in, I believe it's Hungary, and I think you told me he was born in Greece, right? He's a Greek?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Well, but I believe that they said there's a couple of countries in Europe that want to arrest him.
Yes.
They want to arrest him. If they catch him, he'd be arrested. Well, if that's the case, why is this guy running free? If these actual government, a country wants a guy like him arrested, why haven't they arrested him? Even if he's not in their country.
I'm not sure that we have extradition treaties with them. And again, the U.S. government is protecting those top players.
Exactly. Look at Hillary, Biden. Hillary never got arrested, but they're going after. You got Roger Stone. Roger Stone alive, and now he's going to jail for 50 years. What about Hillary? What about Comey? What about Brennan? What about Clapper? What about these guys? I mean, yeah, where's the DOJ on that? Okay, now one guy is going to jail. Roger Stone's going to jail, but guess what? You're all going to jail. Every one of you going to jail. And, they talk about Trump was a liar. Well, what about Obama? He lied. Bush lied. Clinton was a big liar. What about Clinton with the Monica Lewinsky case? He was impeached by the House. Why isn't he put in jail for lying to the Congress about his Monica's dress and all that? Well, they want to put Roger. What did they put Roger Stone in jail for 50 years if they didn't put Clinton in there? I don't understand it. And Hillary smashing her BlackBerries. Maybe somebody can explain this. I don't understand it. Why is Hillary not going to jail, but Roger Stone is?
Well, Hillary's got the goods on everybody. Roger Stone didn't. He didn't. He didn't get blackmail material on the key people. That's what holds that whole town together is mutual blackmail.
Well, I agree with you, Michael, 100%. Everything, in you are like 99.9%. But again, look what's going on at Epstein and Weinstein's case. Epstein is he's not dead. I don't believe that guy's dead. And Weinstein,
no, I don't either. Tom, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We have other callers on the line. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Boy, the phone lines have really loaded up here. Let's start with Miles in Maine. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Glad to hear you're doing well. Hope Claire's doing the same. I just wanted to ask, the House Ethics Committee, aren't they supposed to try and police these guys a little bit? I mean, just somewhat even? I mean, you hear of these guys all the time. You hear of the Buck situation, by the way, another excellent call by Tom. You hear of this type of stuff, and no one has ever investigated, looked into, or nothing of the sort. Isn't that the job of the Ethics Committee?
It's supposed to be the job of the Ethics Committee, but basically somebody has to actually file an ethics complaint before they do anything. And very often it's used as much as a political hammer as anything else.
I don't see how anything could be more of a political hammer than what's been going on the last three and a half years. I couldn't see anything any worse. But I have my other question here that I have. We speak of the Electoral College all the time, and I know it might be difficult to implement in certain areas of the election, the elections that take place, but what would you think, Michael, that the effectiveness would be if we had an Electoral College on the state level for the head positions, at least, say governor, because a lot of these, I'm noticing in many of these elections, the same thing is going on. These states are winning San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Oakland, and whatever. And then the next thing you know, the guy's the governor, and he's no way. And I'm looking at him, and they're not winning anything like the majority of the popular vote.
Well, there is a massive amount of election fraud going on in this country. We probably have the crookedest elections on earth right now. And one of the areas in which I'm very disappointed in Donald Trump is he came into office promising he was going to clean up our election system. He was going to bring back integrity to the process. And then he just sort of dropped the ball.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, do you think if we had, say, an electoral college on the state level, it might at least do a bit of good to prevent these big cities from just overwhelming the vote and everybody else's vote?
Well, I mean, that was the original intent of the Electoral College, was to make sure that the smaller, less populous states were equally represented. And without the Electoral College, and I know the Democrats want it to go away, it does become a popular vote, and it will be dominated by the big population centers like New York City and Los Angeles and San Francisco. And people who are out here in the heartland will be left in the dust.
What I'm saying, what I'm suggesting is within state elections. Do you think if we have like we have on the national level, the Electoral College, if we had that on the state level, do you think that might be anything that might maybe balance things out a little bit for the voters here?
I think it would just be another avenue for cheaters, for election riggers.
Okay, Michael, I wasn't hoping to hear that, but yeah, I can see that. It's wide open now, so you just never know. But thanks a bunch, and keep up the good work.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to start with James in Tokyo. James, I'm probably going to have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, Mike, how you doing? How's Indiana going with you and your wife?
Well, the snow that we had has melted away pretty much. Of course, we'll get more of it later in the winter. And, slowly but surely we're turning this place into a home.
Yeah, that's great. I want to see you have a happy home with that sword in your background where you cut a guy's fucking head off.
Yeah. Please be careful of your language on this here radio. Yeah, I'm going to put the sword up there probably in the next 2 days.
All right, man. Hey, listen, I got a couple things about some of your callers. That guy, what's his name? Like Pete from L.A. That guy is like fantastic. And Tom from Florida, he's fantastic. And Dustin from New Jersey, I think you're really wrong to let him call like twice or 3 times in a show where you don't give other people the same opportunity.
All right, your point is taken. I need to go back to enforcing the 1 call per caller per day.
That's good. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I want to ask you one of the questions. With the whole Trump stuff going on, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to be like they're actually going to impeach him in the Congress, or it will go to the Senate, or they're just going to give up?
I think if they don't get the impeachment vote, and we're hearing more and more Democrats are going to vote no because they think this is damaging the brand, so they'll try something else. In fact, there's a story that's running over at Natural News and InfoWars about how Trump was taken to the hospital for tests because his food tester came down very, very ill. Trump himself is fine. I can't confirm the story, but they're saying this appears to have been an assassination attempt. Anyway, James, got to let you go here. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Kelly in Austin. Aloha, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi there, Mike. I heard earlier something about elections in Louisiana. And I grew up in Louisiana.
Yes.
I know the state very well. You're from Louisiana, Lafayette. I know
I know it from the Mississippi.
Well, It's a special place. I haven't lived there for quite a while. Last 30 years I did in Texas and then off and on in Europe. But I follow Louisiana very carefully. I still have family there. And I know, I can tell you what probably happened in Louisiana. If you look at the voting patterns, zero in specifically on Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish, more than likely, you had Democrat machine politicians there, plus the plaintiffs' bar. They were very concerned about having been swept from the elections in earlier this year. They probably made damn sure that there was enough vote stuffing in those boxes to put Edwards back in office for another 4 years. You cannot look at what happened in Louisiana previously with the Republicans having swept all the major offices in the state, some by very large margins, and then also with the Secretary of State having won by as large a margin as he did over his Democratic opponent. And then look at what happened with the governor's race and not think there wasn't something corrupt about how that particular election was handled. And if you look at it again, I think if you look at the vote totals and patterns in Orleans and Jefferson Parish and probably in East Baton Rouge Parish too, you'll probably find that it's very difficult to reconcile the voting for the Secretary of State and previously for all the other Republicans who won with the results of the governor's election.
No, I'm in agreement. I mean, everybody is suspicious of that election. They're suspicious of what happened up in Kentucky. But we know our elections are rigged. That's just a reality.
Mm-hmm. When I was very young, when I was younger, in Louisiana, Republicans just didn't win in the elections. But over a period of time, the state shifted toward the Republican side of the political spectrum. So much so that Democrats really have a difficult time winning anything unless they can get out their vote and mobilize with the machines in Orleans and in Jefferson Parish, somewhat in East Baton Rouge Parish as well. But you got 62 parishes in the state, and really what you're seeing is 3 parishes, 2.5 parishes, let's say, determining who gets elected governor. And to me, it just looks like this old-time Louisiana politics with the machine politicians having decided that they weren't going to allow the Republican to beat Edwards. They did that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Very, very sad. Very sad. I'm hoping you're enjoying the fall up in Indiana.
Yep.
I know that could be very pleasant.
Well, I've got birdseed and suet all over the back rail, so I'm enjoying the birds.
Oh, yeah. Well, birds are special. Well, good show today, Mike. Thank you.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
This is only the first time I'm calling in today.
I know. That's why I answered.
Well, I'm just curious if James from Tokyo don't want me calling in twice. Like, I got to call in and respond sometimes. Sometimes I go overboard and call in twice, but I don't know if he doesn't want me to call in because I know people don't like the way I look at things in the world. Just, hey, man, this is what happens when you live in a supposedly democracy. We all have our own points of view. But Mike, I got to respond to Tom. And Tom, you do realize, Tom, you said we're all energy independent. Tom, that doesn't mean squat because I don't own a gas station or an oil well. This country, that doesn't mean anything because who controls those oil wells? It's all corporations. So it doesn't mean nothing that we're energy independent because if we were, we'd be spending 45 cents a gallon on gas. We're not. That's it, man. Like this country, has been given over already. That's it. Like the same with the elections and the whole house ethics and the whole investigations. Do you people realize you're living in an empire? Living in an empire sucks, man.
Yep.
It's good and it's bad. You got to take the good with the bad. Unfortunately, there's more bad than good living in an empire, and all empires fail. Because of this. if Rome could have been fixed, it would have. It wasn't. You know, because of the corruption and the decadence of the population overall, and well, you know, Mike, you know history more than I do, but yeah, nothing's gonna be fixed. I just don't see it. I mean, I've been saying this. Remember, like 6 months ago, where's the indictments? When they come and when's Trump? Remember, you said it. When's Trump going to put the brass knuckles on? Well, I mean, what is he waiting for? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing happening at the border. People are still trickling on through. You know, like what's changed? My God, Mike, they're doing to Trump because, you know, there's different factions, like I said last week, trying to do a coup on him. But there's coups going on in Chile because they got lithium, in Bolivia because they got lithium. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what do we have as an American people? You know, like what do we have? What do we have to look forward to? That's what I'm trying to say. You know, like, do we have anything good to look forward to?
Question. That's a very good question. What do we have? More importantly than us old people, it's what does the next generation have to look forward to in this country?
Hey, Mike, what did you talk about? What do you make of Jerome Powell having this meeting with Trump at the White House or something? They're talking about negative interest rates. I mean,
yes.
And that's another thing, Tom. I got to disagree with you because, Tom, I agree with you on the border, you know, and stuff like that. But the economy's not doing well. Like, it's all a facade. If Obama was in, you know, the people who don't like Obama would be saying, well, the economy's crap. You know, like, just because Trump's in doesn't mean he really doesn't control the economy in a way. None of them do. It's policies put in by the Fed, right? I mean, by that people behind the scenes. Because, you know, Jerome Powell, I don't think Trump, I mean, you know, I get confused, though. Trump knew, well, when he was running for office, we're in a big bubble. But I just, you know, you can't take credit for something you know that's a fraud, because they can either use that against you, or when it goes south, you're gonna regret, you know, being favorable for that economy while you're in. Toward the end, when it gets bad, you're gonna be blamed for it. You know, but like, but it's not. I just wish people would look at the numbers, like the 1.5% GDP. That's nothing. That's official numbers. I mean, it could be 1% or negative. I mean, we don't know.
No, we don't.
That's the thing. We don't know. The numbers are all rigged and manipulated. You know, we can have 50% unemployment rate. You won't know because those numbers would be hidden from you, you know, by like them not counting people after a certain amount of time. Because I talk to a lot of people, and they, you know, people, it's tough. It's hard out there, you know.
Yes, it is.
And like I said, it's like last week I said, like, the tax cuts. Where's the tax cuts for the regular Joe six-packs? Like, because those tax cuts that Trump didn't benefit people. Because if people think about this, where's the money coming from? It's coming out of, like, they're printing money to do it. They print money to give you, and they take it away with the other hand.
Yes.
Right? That's it.
Yes.
Like that, so you didn't gain anything, because if they give you money with one hand and take it with the other, then you're back where you started. That's what I'm saying, Mike. We're back where we started.
Yes.
We didn't gain nothing, and we're just there, you know? And you know what pisses me off, Mike? Like, I see people like Clinton and all these other people, the Bidens.
Yeah.
Clinton makes these hundreds of $1,000s speech per hour at these banks and stuff, you know, the Coliseums the banks own, or Joe Biden with these people ain't going to be arrested, man. I mean, I don't know why people think these people are just going to be locked up. You know, Mike, when Trump was saying lock her up, you know, it was fun to hear. And then you see the reality of it. You know, the reality is, like Prince Andrew, you know, I didn't touch that woman. I did stay at the Holiday Inn, though.
Yeah.
What's that place
Yeah.
called? Pizza
Who with?
Express.
Who with?
Pizza Express. It's the lamest excuse. That's like Trump saying he didn't touch Monica. Like Bill Clinton. I didn't touch Monica Lewinsky. I was too busy eating my 99-cent taco at Taco Bell. I mean, come on, man. This is the people, Mike. Like Prince Andrew, the royalty we got here. That this is the people that are running basically the world. I hate to say it, but this is the face. Prince Andrew's the face of these people. And if people they did a poll, like 10% or 7% believed him. The other 90-something% thought he's full of crap. Remember, I sweat. Yeah, I don't sweat when I run away from bullets. Yeah, okay. I mean, what a moron. You know, but this is the people that are running this world, Mike.
Yes.
This is the liars, crooks, and murderers. You know, and that's all I got to say, Mike. Have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. All right, I want to backtrack here. I'm concerned about this story, and I want to stress I have not been able to confirm it. But it came out of Natural News, and it was picked up by Alex Jones, who ran with it, basically saying that Trump made an emergency stop at Walter Reed Army Hospital for a battery of chemical tests because his food tester, and I believe Trump is the first president to actually have one of those, his food tester came down very, very seriously ill. We don't know his current condition, and they wanted to have Trump tested for various delayed action toxins. But supposedly Trump is just fine. And I'm sure the food tester is going to be looking for other gainful employment. But like I said, I can't confirm this actually happened. Now, Natural News normally is a good source. They are going from what they claim is a source inside the White House, who says this is not the first time there's been concern about an assassination attempt on President Trump. And I wouldn't give it that much credence, but I've been saying all along, if this whole impeachment thing falls apart, and it is, that they will try and take him out physically. So I'm going to keep looking and seeing if I can find it. It's all over InfoWars. It's all over Natural News. I have not been able to find another source to confirm this. All right, we're going to go back to the phones. Lenny in California. Aloha, Lenny. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I got here just in time to hear Tom's phone call, and he issued a challenge to your so-called African-American listeners to call in, and so I just want to accept his challenge. All right.
Okay.
And first, I want to speak about him wanting to, us to respond, or in this case, me to respond concerning about illegals and how it's affecting Black Americans coming into this country. Well, it affects us the same way it affects white Americans, Asian Americans, or Hispanic Americans who are legally here working and who are citizens of this country. It affects everybody the same way. All right. So, I just want you to understand that, when it comes to low-wage workers, there is no respect of person when it comes to that. All right. Second thing is, I want to get to his hypothesis of, if we split up the NFL, we had a Black NFL and a white NFL. I want to take you back to a few years ago, Tom, during the ESPY Awards. Those are the awards for the athletes, and one of the people who came out to present the awards was an actor from the show. It was on HBO, The Entourage, and I forget his name, but he played the big-time agent in the show. But anyway, he made a joke when he came out on stage, and he said that, isn't it great that we're here to celebrate all these great athletes? But if we want to get down to the truth of it, all the owners of the teams are Jewish. And he said, we run this thing. And I remember thinking to myself, man, who would have thought a Jew and Louis Farrakhan are in agreement? All right, that's the second thing.
Yeah.
But getting back to which part of the NFL would fold, Tom, they both would fold because neither one of us own anything. Are you getting that, Tom? All right, we're not in charge of anything. As long as you get that, then maybe we can work together. But I don't appreciate the divisiveness. All right, and I have to wonder about your Hispanic wife, since you seem to hammer on everybody else when you do call in. How the hell did she put up with it? That's all I got to say. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Lenny. We're going to let you go here. And a little bit of entertainment news here to take us out of the show here. As you know, there is a new movie based on the TV series Charlie's Angels. It stars Kristen Stewart, Naomi Scott, and Ella Balinska. And it has not done well at all. In fact, it's a box office bomb. Not only that, the critics didn't like it as well. But in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, director Elizabeth Banks is out there saying it's sexism. It's all the fault of those men because men don't like watching women in action films. Well, that's complete nonsense because, again, the original Charlie's Angel TV series was hugely successful. And a big part of their audience was men. Fans are saying it's just a bad movie. All righty, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today here. And I'm looking at the Fox 59 website, which is here in Indiana. And they are talking about Donald Trump's visit to Walter Reed on Saturday and how it was a sudden trip. It didn't follow the normal protocols of a routine presidential medical exam. And the staff did not get a staff-wide notice about a presidential visit. And let's see. Reporters under direction not to report his movement until they arrived Saturday at Walter Reed. Trump typically takes Marine One to Walter Reed. On Saturday's clear-skied day, the president opted for the motorcade. Okay. White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham, in response to a CNN request for comment, said, "We're not going to get into security and movement protocols when it comes to the president. But as my statement said, he's in good health, and it was a routine checkup as part of his annual physical." So I don't know what to think about this. I don't know what to think about this. The Fox 59 site is saying nothing about the food tester having symptoms. So I get this has to stay in the category of unconfirmed. But I would not be surprised if somebody tries to take out President Trump because this whole impeachment thing is just falling apart. Schiff's prize witnesses are self-destructing on the stand. Anyway, over in Madison, there was this family, the Navari, and they lost their home, nearly all their possessions, to a fire. So they parked a recreational vehicle in their own driveway while they worked on repairing the house. A rational person would think that the family, being on their own property for which taxes are current, would be safe to live for a time following a disaster in a vehicle specially designed to be a mobile home. But no. Apparently they are facing jail for living in an RV on their own property. Like these people have not been through enough. So that's up in Wisconsin. And Really, we need to get a little bit of humanity back into our judicial system. We really, really do. Okay, let's see. Oh, there's the music. Okay, it's time for me to get on out of here. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please support both of our institutions. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.